Okay, so today we're gonna make an avocado and sun-dried tomato pesto. This is kind of like a mixture between Italian and Mexican cuisine. I'm just gonna take a guacamole essentially and put it in pasta. Okay, so the first thing you wanna do is get your water boiling. So put that on high heat. Use your kettle if you have to kind of, make it quicker. You need one whole avocado. Make sure it's ripe. This is the most crucial ingredient in this entire pesto. You want a nice and ripe avocado. The way you test that is you just put a little bit of pressure, and if it gives into your touch, then it's ripe. If you find, however, that it's all firm and then there's one really soft spot, it just means it's bruised, and you don't want to buy that at all. By the way, this is Haas avocado. That's the avocado type. It's my favorite for guacamole or avocado pesto. Then you're going to need some Parmesan. This is Parmigiano Reggiano. It's 12 months old, but you don't have to have something that expensive. Just don't buy the shredded stuff. That's no good. You're going to need half to a quarter of an onion, depending on size. This is quite a small onion, so I'm going to use about half of it. You're going to need a garlic clove. Then you're going to, one garlic clove is enough, not a bulb. Then you're going to need about 30 grams of pine nuts. These are quite small, and that's quite cute. And then you're going to need about 20 grams of coriander, fresh coriander, or cilantro, as the Americans call it. Then you're going to need some chopped up tomatoes. These are about 6 whole chopped up tomatoes, just chopped into little pieces. And about 150 grams of extra virgin olive oil. What I did though is these sun-dried tomatoes were in oil. I just added some of that oil into here for extra flavor. And then you're going to need a lime. You're going to need some sambal oleg, which is essentially chili paste. Feel free to replace that with fresh chili, Tabasco sauce, or nothing at all. But I'm going to use about a teaspoon of this, and it's not too spicy at all. You're going to need 250 grams of spaghetti, or any pasta for that matter. I'm going with spaghetti because I recommend that. But you could do penne tagliatelle or anything like that. So take your avocado and just open it up like this. Then you're going to pin it like this. And pop it into your food processor. I'm going to do all of this with a food processor because it's quick and easy. If you don't have one, you can chop everything by hand and just mix it up, mush that up with a fork. I much prefer using a food processor. If you have a blender, you can give it a shot, but some blenders are just too big for such a small quantity. Okay, so scoop that out with a spoon and just dump it in there. You're going to peel this onion. I'm going to use red onion, but if you have white onions or yellow onions or shallots, feel free to use that. Red onions are a bit sweeter than white onions or yellow onions, so it just goes better with this because I'm going to use it raw. And that just gives her a milder flavor. So just chop that in half and then quarter it, pop it into your food processor. Then I'm going to take the coriander, and what you want to do is you're going to pick the leaves, but you're not going to throw away the stems. The stems you just throw into the food processor. Stems are full of flavor, coriander stems, and there's no need to throw them away. Now, for those of you who don't love coriander, you can always use parsley, or, well, basil could work too. It's a completely different flavor, but coriander is one of these love-hate herbs that either you really into it or you just loathe it. However, some friends who hate coriander didn't seem to mind it in this pesto. So try it with coriander first, and if you don't like it, replace it with something else. All right, now we're going to chop this up. Use a sharp knife so it doesn't turn black. Use that rocking action, and then chop it up. Not too fine, otherwise it won't be as flavorful, but not too large, otherwise it's too powerful. So something like that is just fine. Now set it aside. Take your garlic clove, use a large one, something like that. What you do is you take this woody bottom off, and then you just smash it like that, and then it's peeled. Throw it in there. Now add the oil in here. You can reserve a little bit of oil. Don't throw everything in there. And now just blitz all of this. So we're gonna just blitz these away. What you're looking for is that there's no big chunks of red onion, because that's gonna be too strong. So once you notice that the onion's pretty fairly chopped, you can take that out, pour it into a bowl. So the water's boiling, it's salted. Cook according to packet instructions. That's pretty obvious. Good. Now, you've got your pesto base right here. If you're cooking batches, leave it there. Don't add the parmesan and everything else. If you have too much of this, you can just put this in the fridge and it will be good for a couple of days if you give it a nice coating of oil. So, add your sun-dried tomatoes in there. Right, so add your coriander in there. Then add your lime. And here's a trick. When you add the lime, you can add the salt with it so that the salt dissolves with the lime juice. Don't add too much salt right now because the sun-dried tomatoes are quite salty. So you're going to test for seasoning a bit later. Now I'm going to add the pine nuts, but before I add them, I would like to roast them. Roasting just brings the oil out and it just makes it a lot more nutty and flavorful. So what you're going to do is that you're going to turn on your stove and you want your pan to be quite hot, smoking point pretty much, before you add the nuts. You throw your nuts in and you immediately just start shaking it up. You want this golden brown color, but make sure that they don't go completely black, because that will make them taste bitter. It really doesn't take long at all. And when you do this, don't add any oil. Nuts have their own oil, which is released when they're heated. All right, so that's about right. Lovely golden color. Pop them in there. Now just mix that up. We're gonna add the sambal oelek. Pretty much right now, it's a good time to check for seasoning. Now I'm still gonna add some parmesan to it, and that also is a bit salty. But right now I'm checking for lime. I want this to be a little more sour and a little more salty than usual, because when you add it to the pasta, that will just tone it right back down. Okay, so it definitely needs a bit more lime and a bit more salt. Let me mix it up. Now I'm going to check out the pasta, see if it's done. I like to cook it al dente, which is basically a little bit firm to the bite, but not so much that it sticks to your teeth. You just got to taste it, and if you're happy with it, then it's good. And that's good. Now, remember that oil that I left? I'm just going to add that to the pasta now so it doesn't stick. Now, all we got to do is shred the parmesan in here. I'm not going to use all of it. I'm just going to use about half of it. You can always just top it up with more parmesan if you want more. Adding a little bit now, though, does give you that pesto texture that we're going for in this Mexican-Italian fusion thing. Okay, so once again, check for seasoning. That's great. You didn't see that. Okay, I'm gonna throw the pasta in here. Make sure the pasta is really hot because the pesto is room temperature. So if it's not hot enough, then you will serve your customers or guests, depending on whether they're paying or not, cold food. Don't add all the pesto in once, just about half of it. Mix it up and then check if that's enough. Now, I love this pesto, so I'm definitely going to add all of it. Right away you will smell the coriander, it smells fantastic. That is a hot pasta releasing the oils of the herb, making it far more flavorful. Now at this point you can just pop your plates into the microwave or into the oven if you've preheated it and get them nice and hot and serve. So that's your finished product right there. It's what I love about this dish is that it's original. You always have pesto, you have bottled pesto, you have packaged pesto. This is a Mexican pesto essentially, and you're bringing in two different cultures. What you're looking for in flavor here, it's a very fresh flavor. It's not heavy, and the lime and the coriander give it a much lighter tone than a lot of the rucola or basil pestos. On the other hand, this pesto, if you serve 3 or 4 people with this, is cheaper than a McDonald's meal, essentially. I mean, if you take 4 McDonald's meals, that would be about 20 euros in Germany. This in total would be about 8 euros at most. So it's cheap, it's fast, and it's delicious. Tuck in.